Alright. The Batman is a movie that was released a few weeks ago, and I have to say, while I have only seen it once, when I go to see a movie, I see it at least twice, so I can give my proper opinion on this, I can say, without a doubt, that this is one of the best movies that I've seen in theaters in a really long time. So let's get into it. I have to say straight up, this is one of my favorite Batman movies. To the point where when I left the theater, I thought it was my very favorite Batman movie. It was just so much fun. And I think that the tone of this movie, it's really, really well done and very, very fitting for this kind of character. And I think that the casting decisions and the score and the cinematography of this movie really help accentuate that tone that this movie is going for. Director Matt Reeves did a fantastic job in this movie. Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz as Batman and Catwoman, respectively, they all do astounding jobs. A lot of people were not convinced hearing that Robert Pattinson would be a good Batman, but I have to say that after seeing this movie, he's not like my first choice for a Bruce Wayne slash Batman, but he's definitely he does a great job in this kind of movie. I think he is fantastic for the role, and he's very expressive. He's very expressive with his eyes. If you watch the movie and think about that, he's very expressive with his eyes in this movie, which I think is awesome. You don't see a lot of that often. Like I said before, the score and the cinematography of this movie are just, they make this film. The cinematography is some of the best that I've seen in a recent film that has come out. I mean, almost every single one of these shots are beautiful, beautiful. I couldn't find any to actually make it my background on my monitor here, but there's a lot of good scenes. Like the upside down shot of Batman walking towards the Penguin's crashed car, or Batman and Catwoman atop the building as the sun is rising. I mean, there's just a lot of really good scenes in this movie, and it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful film, despite being so dark. It's great. This take on the character is probably my favorite direction that someone could go with a Batman story. I really like the self-made, everything is built from scratch. Like, you can tell his suit he built it himself. The Batmobile is like an actual car that with modifications to make it into the Batmobile, but everything is very put together, and it not only fits the tone of the movie, but I think it really fits the character of Batman. Now, I love the Bale movies, but I think I like this version of the character more. I mean, just the little things too, like the eye makeup, and how in the very beginning of the movie you can see his eyes are bloodshot because he's tired and he's worn down and he's covered in scars. I mean, he's only been Batman for 2 years, and you can tell he's exhausted and he's been beaten down and he's all rough. But I mean, I think it works fantastic. I like seeing Batman have a toll taken on him from his activities. I really liked this version of the main villain, the Riddler, as well. His name escapes me, but I think he does a great job as the Riddler. I think he's the perfect mixture of scary and almost kind of funny in some of his scenes. I mean, a lot of his scenes, he's scary. The FaceTime call during the mayor's funeral and all of that, but there's a few scenes that I don't know if they were intentionally funny or not, but he's just, the actor, he acted the hell out of this role, and he did a great job. All actors in this movie did a great job. Touching on what I said earlier about I like this version of the character, something I don't like about this Batman is that he's seemingly bulletproof. I mean, obviously he can be killed, but something I want in a superhero film, or at least a superhero film like Batman, is for there to be stakes. I want you to be worried about the hero that you're watching, and this Batman does a lot of ridiculous stuff. There's this one scene where he's gliding using his wingsuit, and he nails himself on a bridge, and that kind of collision would kill a normal person. Obviously, I wouldn't want it to kill Batman, but he seems to just get up and walk it off, and like he's fine. But I can kind of dismiss that. But like some of the things that really bother me is, again, like Batman is supposed to have a body armor. He's not supposed to just have a skin tight suit. I never liked that. And I'm okay with Batman getting grazed by bullets here and there, but this guy is taking like buckshot point blank to the chest in like assault rifle rounds, and they're not having a long-term effect. Now getting shot in the chest with the shotgun takes him out of commission for a minute, so he has to inject himself with adrenaline to get him back up, which I liked a lot. But I want Batman to dodge being shot. Like, I want being shot to have consequences, because the more invulnerable your hero seems, the less stakes that there appear. In this movie, we're never worried about Batman's safety, we're worried about everyone else's, which is okay. It's just, in my personal preference, I'd rather have Batman take more damage, take a beating. One of my favorite things about Spider-Man, I know this is off topic, but it's like at the end of every single one of his films, his suits are all ripped up, and he's all cut up and bruised and bleeding, and his mask is all destroyed. Because he's taking as much damage as he's given, and I didn't really get that vibe from this Batman. Something different that this movie does, as opposed to other Batman films, is that there is a lot more detective stuff. I mean, Batman is known as the world's greatest detective, and in this film, he's not just beating people up. He's actually spending a decent amount of time at crime scenes and trying to solve the Riddler's riddles. And I loved that about this movie. Some people might find it boring. I thought it was absolutely awesome to watch the Batman just walk around and like intimidate people with his presence, and he's just doing nothing but like looking at stuff. And I thought it was funny. It's like a recurring thing throughout the movie, is that like people will be trying to figure out what the Riddler's trying to do, and it would come to him like quick. I mean, obviously there's a few riddles that he doesn't figure out like immediately, because if he did, then again it would be like there would be no conflict. But like characters are trying to figure out stuff, and he'll just like he'll know exactly what it is. Like, the answer is justice. Like, I liked it a lot. I liked Batman being a detective in this movie as much as being a vigilante. And I think this style of detective work, actually being there at the crime scene and like staying there and talking with the police and all that, it's something that you don't see often, and if you see it, it's toned down significantly. So I really enjoyed that aspect of this movie. So the Batman in this movie is kind of controversial, but I feel like something that cannot be argued against is the Gotham in this film. I think Gotham is presented perfectly in this film. I mean, you can say what you want about the Catwoman or Batman themselves, but Gotham is exactly how Gotham should be in a live-action film. The Gothic architecture, it's dark, it's just a cesspool of crime. It's exactly what people should want out of Gotham in one of these movies. Like, again, comparing to the Bale trilogy. It's just a big city. It's like New York or Chicago in the Bale trilogy, which works for that kind of setting. But ideally, in a live-action Batman film, Gotham should be very unique, in style, in tone, and this movie conveys that amazingly. So, there's a lot of antagonists in this film, and through solving the Riddler's riddles, Batman and Gordon, who I love their dynamic in this film, by the way. I don't know if, again, the actor's name escapes me, I don't know if he's my favorite Jim Gordon, but he's definitely, him and Batman's relationship in this movie is definitely my favorite. I mean, they're like buddies. It's kind of goofy. I love it. I love how they interact with each other in this film, and they kind of bounce off of each other in trying to find out what's going on with the Riddler. And something I didn't like about this movie, I kind of got off topic there, was how I wish the Riddler was in this movie more. I've heard a few people say that that they kind of forgot about the Riddler. But I wouldn't say that as much as I would just say since he is the main antagonist, I wish he was involved a little bit more. Especially towards the third act, I felt like, not in the third act, but like towards the end of the second act, I felt like the Riddler should have been more involved, because he kind of disappears for a little bit while they're trying to solve his crimes, and then he reappears before getting arrested. And I don't know, I felt like he should have been in it more, because I really enjoyed his performance. I thought it was great. So this feels like kind of a shorter review, but I had nothing really but positive things to say about this film. I loved the tone, I loved the actors, I loved the feel of this movie, which is basically the same thing as the tone. I loved everything about it, and for a 3-hour runtime, it definitely did not seem to drag, at least in my opinion. It didn't feel long to me. Actually, the only time that it did feel like it was starting to slow down was towards the end of the movie, but that should be expected in a film anyway. I think this movie was great. I wouldn't go as far as to say it was perfect, but it's definitely one of the best Batman movies that I've ever seen, and it's top 3, no doubt about it. So, without further ado, I will give this movie a 9 out of 10. Now, as always, in my reviews, my scores will change in the future with the more movies I see and the more movies I take a look at, but as of now, this movie is held very high for me. It's definitely one of my favorite superheroes of the past 5 years. I loved this film so much, and I'm kind of regretting that I haven't seen it a second time yet, but I definitely plan on doing it shortly. If you've liked this review and you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to hear more from me when I'm not uploading, because I don't upload that often, be sure to check out my Twitter and my Instagram. I try to post as much as possible on those 2 platforms to keep myself alive, to make it look like I'm actually there, even if I'm not uploading. So check those out if you would be so kind, and I will catch you guys in the next one.